Well, hopefully by now you're starting to produce some data from your in-depth study. And once you've completed your data collection stage, you're probably thinking, well, what do I do now? Well, what most of us scientists do when we get a lot of data is we want to graph it. We want to see what the data or the patterns are showing us or telling us, because then we can start understanding what our results actually mean. However, sometimes we don't have the skills to actually make those graphs, or we might, but we don't actually know how to best represent them or make them look appropriate in our reports. So this short little video is going to help you just use Excel to create graphs, whether that be scatter plots, bar graphs, or anything else like that. It's a simple, easy tutorial just to get you up and running. So in the future, whenever you come across any data, you'll be able to make graphs very quickly. So let's just say you want to produce a scatter plot or a graph where both your data sets are continuous variables. That is, they range from anywhere between 0 to infinity or infinitely large numbers, and they can't be really categorized into discrete factors. So here we have some data in Excel, 3 columns, where we're looking at data of depth, age of ice, that is years before present, and CO2 concentration. So this data was looking at the relationship between the depth of an ice sample, the age of that ice sample, and the concentration of CO2. So let's just say we wanted to produce a graph where we wanted to look at the relationship between depth of the ice sample and the age of the ice. Okay, so first thing we need to do is to highlight these 2 columns, just like so. Okay, then we go up to the tab up the top here that says Insert. All right, and then a couple of graphing options come up, but we know that we want to use a scatter plot because we've got 2 continuous variables. So we choose this little feature up here, and we click on that. Now there's a number of options at this point, but I'm just going to choose the most basic one where it has no lines and it just shows the relationship. Okay, and that produces a graph of the relationship between age of ice, which we have on the x-axis, and then the years before present. Sorry, we have the depth of the ice on the x-axis and the years before present on the y-axis. Okay, now at this point it might be good to mention that a lot of people vary in what they prefer to have their graphs, because it's a bit of an art. So, but for me, I like to get rid of the grid lines. So I just click on those and press delete. Okay, that just makes it less busy and it's easy to see the data points. However, you might like to include those if you think that's better. So what this graph is showing us is it seems to be a strong linear positive relationship between the age of the ice and the depth that the sample was taken. So essentially, the deeper you go, the older the ice becomes, which kind of makes sense, right? All right, so to put titles on the axes here, all we need to do is click on the axes and go over to this green cross, and that allows you to put titles. You see how it's not ticked? As soon as we tick that there, it'll bring up a axis title, and we want to change that. So this is age of ice. All right, and down here we have depth of ice. Right, so we have some axes. Now, again, personal preference will dictate whether or not you keep the title on the graph. I prefer to get rid of all titles because most figures are meant to have a legend or a caption beneath. So you would put any information that was in the title beneath the figure in a caption. All right? Secondly, scientists are pretty boring, so we don't really like making things colorful, though you might. this is personal preference. I just like to make things either in grayscale or black or white. So to do that, I'll just change these dot points to black. I go to Format Data Series, and I click on this icon here on the left, and I want to change the marker. So I choose the marker here, and I want to change the fill first. So I want to do it to a solid fill, and then black. Okay. At the moment, I've only just changed the inside color. I need to change the line as well, or the circle around the black. So to do that, I just go down to Border, I say Solid Line, again, I select black. And there I should have nice black dots. All right, so that's a nice little graph to show you how you would correlate just two independent variables against each other. But what if we wanted to kind of look at both the relationship between the age of the ice with depth and CO2 concentration with depth? Okay, would we be able to do that on the same graph, or should we produce two separate graphs? Again, it's up to personal preference, but I think that if the graph, if they can both be combined into the single graph, then that's all the better. Okay, so how would we do that? Let's start again, I guess. In this case, instead of just highlighting the first two columns, we could highlight all three at once. Okay, again, we'd go to Insert and choose the scatter plot. All right, so first thing that you can notice compared to the last time is that we still have this nice linear correlation with the age of ice against the depth of the ice. However, the second dependent variable doesn't seem to be showing much of a correlation. The reason for that is that it's on a different scale. We don't want to be comparing CO2 concentrations with age of ice because they're completely different scales. You'll see that the age of ice goes up to 53,000 years old, whereas the maximum number of the CO2 concentration is only around 284, okay, which is, you're not going to see much if you have them both on the same scale. So what we need to do is we need to convert, I'll put this second data series on a different axis, so on a second y-axis. So to do that, we'll just right click on the data points, go to Format Data Series, and all you need to do then is click on the second axis. And then look what happens. We have the two data points plotted on the same x-axis, but they have different y-axis values. And that allows us to look at the one graph, but get two data sets in the same picture. After this point, then you could go through the steps that I showed you before about making things look consistent. Like, for example, getting rid of grid lines, getting rid of the title, and then just giving axes titles as well. All right. So moving on from the scatter plot, if we wanted to produce a different type of graph, which is commonly referred to as a column or a bar chart, we'd have to be using data which has categorical information in it. So, for example, the independent variable could be categorized into discrete categories. So in this case, we looked at an experiment that investigated the effect of seed density on the germination success of certain seeds, and those densities were categorized as either low, medium, and high. Okay, and what we did, we had about 10 replicates of each treatment, and we calculated the mean germination success, as you can see here. Now, if we wanted to graph this, we would have to highlight the first two rows and the three treatments. Again, go up to Insert, but instead of clicking on the scatter plot, we're going to click on the insert column chart or graph. Okay, and we're just going to choose this first one here. Okay, and so you'll automatically see what comes up. We have this these three categories presented on the x-axis, so low, medium, and high, and we have percent germination distributed on the y-axis, so from 0% right up to 100%. All right. So if you were to present this graph again, just as it was, whilst you might get some points, you are missing some vital information. Firstly, as these are means, we need to know what sort of variation around these means the data or the replicates showed or produced. Okay, and fortunately we've already calculated our standard deviation. So this can be quite tricky, putting on some error bars, but once shown, it's quite simple. So let's give it a go. So to calculate or to put error bars on these columns, you just need to go up here to the green plus sign, and you'll see a little indication here says error bars. All right, so you'll see that there will be automatically a default error bars put on there. They're not the right values. Okay, we need to put our own values or customize our values there. So I want you to then click on this little arrow, okay, and it will bring up more options. So this is the arrow next to error bars. Okay, more options, okay, and this is where you can really customize the error bars to how you like it. Okay, so at this stage we're going to leave the default setting, which has both negative and positive error bars, as well as we're going to leave the cap. So this is that little T bar on top of the error bar. However, the main thing we're going to change here is instead of going from the standard error, we're going to change it to the custom value, and we're going to specify that value. And you'll see that this little window pops up. Don't touch anything in this window. Just go directly to your error bars or your standard deviation values on the Excel spreadsheet. You just highlight those like that, and you'll notice that for the positive values, they've gone directly in. Again, you just need to highlight this and highlight the three values, and you'll see that you've just told the Excel that you want the positive and negative error bars to reflect these three values in order of 1, 2, 3. So then you just click OK, and you should see that each of these error bars are now different heights. Okay. Then all you need to do is, like in the last time, maybe get rid of the title, maybe get rid of the grid lines. Then you might want to just fix up some of the lines on the axes. To do that, you just need to format axes, go to line and say solid line like that. Again, down the bottom as well. Okay. Anyway, these are all just cosmetic things, but the main thing you'd need to do is put on axes titles. So we need to know that this is seed density on the x-axis, and this is germination success on the y-axis. All right, well, hopefully that gives you just some kind of helpful tips for how you could use Excel just to make the two most common types of graphs to put in your reports. So that is scatter plots and column graphs.